Hello, Spain Rodriguez. Hi, this is Fred.
Hi, Fred.
How are you? Good. May I call you Spain?
Sure.
Okay, great.
Everybody does.
Everybody does. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. We can take as little or as long. I'm just going to introduce the session here and then just go down a list of things that I've written down, if that's okay. All right. Let me put a header on this tape. This is Fred Hodgson, tape for broadcast, Arbitrary Habitats, KUCI 88.9 FM, Irvine, California, May 24th, 1994, interview with Spain Rodriguez. And I'll count down for the actual on-air session here. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everyone. This is Arbitrary Habitats. My name is Fred. I have the great fortune to present an interview with one of the pioneers of the underground comics movement, Spain Rodriguez. Spain is most noted for his involvement with Zap Comics, which began in 1967 by Robert Crumb. The timeliness of this interview cannot be overstated because on Friday, June 3rd, there will be a gala opening celebration for the exhibition of the original art from Zap number 13, which is dedicated to fellow Zap artist Rick Griffin, who died in 1991. Spain Rodriguez, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
Are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm right here.
Okay. I'd like to start with how did the concept for Zap number 13 come about?
Well, after every Zap, we always talk about doing another one in 6 months, and usually it's a few years for the next one. But we had an idea of doing an all-jam comic. And although we didn't end up doing an all-jam comic, we have more pages of jams, which is collaborations, which everybody does something than any of the previous Zaps.
Would it be similar to the Zam comic that was out?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So is that the basic idea of Zap 13, is that each panel has work contributed to by each artist?
Well, as it turned out, we did about 5 pages of jams. We usually, kind of traditionally, we just did 1 page. But,
I see.
We've been kind of stretching it more and more. The more fun we do. So.
And how is the art, because everybody seems to, from what I've gathered, live in different places on the globe. Is the artwork mailed back and forth, or?
Oh, yeah. There's a nucleus of us in Northern California. That's me and Victor Moscoso and Escalade Wilson. So we just get together. Crumb happened to be in town at the time, so we all just got together and did the basic, most of the strip, and then we sent it off to Gilbert Shelton and Robert Williams in Los Angeles.
Okay, and Shelton's in Texas?
He's in Paris.
Oh, he's in Paris. Okay.
Paris, France. Not Paris. Texas.
Not Paris. Okay, now I've heard that the basic theme or the title of Zap 13 or the undertitle is called The Last Lunch.
Well, yeah, we did a tribute to Rick, who died in a motorcycle accident, and so The Last Lunch is kind of an homage to him.
Okay, because he primarily concentrated on, or he seemed to have religious themes permeate through his work.
Yeah, he's a spiritual guy.
And was it a Christian spirituality?
It was, yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed to be leaving that in his later years. I don't know, he went from being a surfer to riding a motorcycle. That's what he died from, a motorcycle accident.
Right, 1991. Right. What was your relation with Rick Griffin? I mean, he was primarily a Southern California guy, and you were up in the Bay Area. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, he was up here when I first came to San Francisco, which was the beginning of '69. He was actually living up the hill from where I'm living now, and he was working on the poster. It was the OXO poster that had the sun up in the sky and all these showed beneath the earth with all these skeletons, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's the OXO theme that.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it was a Grateful Dead poster, but it was kind of my introduction to California. So a friend of mine dragged me over to his place the day after I got it. got here, and he was just finishing that up. And,
Mm-hmm.
The winter in New York that I had left was particularly cold, so coming out here to California where it was green in the middle of February really shocked me. And then seeing this poster that just kind of represented the sunnier climate.
You did some underground work in New York, is that correct?
I was working for the East Village Other. Me and Kim Deitch had done a bunch of strips for them steadily since from about '67. So we hadn't heard of Crumb, even though he had been to New York and had worked with Art Spiegelman doing bubblegum cards.
Who later went on to do Raw, right?
Later went on to do Raw, right? Mm-hmm. So there were underground comics were already bubbling up. It was something that was already happening, but San Francisco kind of became a magnet.
Is that what drew you out to the Bay Area?
Yeah.
Primarily.
Yeah.
So what was your first published work then? Would that be with the East Village Other?
Yeah. The first thing I did was the first thing that was ever published. I did a thing with in the Militant, which was I did the political cartoons for the Militant one summer, '65 or something, which was the newspaper of the Socialist Workers Party. And I went back to Buffalo and did small things in Buffalo. And East Village Other, I made contact with Walter Board at the East Village Other, and he offered to publish something of mine. And what we ended up with was Zodiac Mind Warp, which was
which is a very difficult one to get right now.
Oh yeah.
Right. Okay. How would you mentioned the difference in weather from the East Coast compared to the West Coast? How is the publishing climate or the artistic climate as far as interacting with other artists? Because like you said, Zap is known for its jams. How would you compare the two coasts?
Well, in New York at the time, there was a lot of things going on. It was just I'd moved to New York. Back to New York in the winter of '67. It was right before the Summer of Love. But the whole Lower East Side seemed to be bursting with this kind of energy, and there was all kinds of things going on.
When did Trash Man come up?
Trash Man, I started doing a strip for the East Village Other after we published the Zodiac Mind Warp, and slowly evolved into Trash Man, and I just kind of made it up as I went along.
Yeah, and in fact, you mentioned that you try to do Zap every 6 months. Zap 12 was last published in 1989, or originally published in 89.
Yeah, right.
And you had you graced the cover with some art, and then you had the opening story, which was a Trash Man story.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And you pen. It seems like I see on each Trash Man story who is an agent of the 7th International, of course. 6th International.
Yes.
6th. Okay, great. Thanks. I always run around saying the 7th. It's drawn by Spain Rodriguez, but written by Algernon Backwash.
Yeah, that's a friend of mine who helps me out.
Oh, so it is a legitimate person then?
Yeah, he prefers to remain anonymous.
Oh, I see. Okay. So who would you consider some of your early artistic influences?
Well, EC Comics and, Wallace Wood and Jack Davis and Craig Steen and Orlando and Ingalls and all those guys. Belder and Severin. All the EC artists. And once from the minute I opened up an EC comic, I was addicted and got everyone I could get my hands on.
Similar to me with the Zaps. But on a more academic end, were there any classic artists, say the Impressionists or anything from the Renaissance, or that had an effect on?
Well, my mother was a painter, so I grew up. I was familiar with a lot of the Renaissance artists, and Da Vinci's draftsmanship always impressed me. But once I really was able to, art school, I was kind of skeptical about artists who were in the hit parade of art history. But after a while, after looking at a lot of the other artists, I came to appreciate guys like Rembrandt, the whole Dutch school, and Velasquez. So
it seems I notice a lot, especially say with the ink work, Albrecht Dürer.
Dürer is one of my favorites.
Right, I notice a lot of similarities with just the because he did a lot of carvings and engravings and such, and Zapp. Most of the Zapp ink work seems to have that quality to it.
Yeah, well, Dürer, as a matter of fact, put out kind of cheap reproductions of his work that he would sell at fairs and that sort of thing.
Hey, proto-comics.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the first guys, the guys in England like Cruikshank and Rowlandson, were the guys, some of the first guys who did voice bubbles and that sort of thing. And, some of that stuff has a certain resemblance to Bill Elder. So, I mean, a lot of the use of the line, with the absence of color,
right,
and the whole tradition, because it was easier to print, easier to mass produce, that sort of thing, than color work at the beginning of printing, at the beginning of mass media. So.
Back to historically looking at Zapp, your first involvement was with Zapp number 4?
Right.
With Mara, Mistress of the Void.
Right.
Now, is that the, I recall that Zapp had some legal problems. Isn't that the issue that went to court?
Yeah, that was the one that went to court. Joe Blow, Robert did, the cover of the Moscoso had Mr. Peanut on one side, Mr. Penis in the back.
Right. Now, whatever, was that dropped? That case eventually dropped, or?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Were you involved in that at all?
No, I guess nothing I did was that offensive. But I actually had been involved with legal problems with East Village Other, with things like East Village Other.
Was that more on a political end, or more?
No, it was for obscenity, and I did one cover that I had the woman saying something, one of the words you can't say on radio. So that was taken off a bunch of newsstands. I mean, it's probably just that period of the 60s was, the late 60s was really a period of breaking out, of trying to establish new boundaries of what could be published.
Well, speaking of that, how do you feel that that whole surgence do you feel it's tapered off, or do you think it's coming up again, or how do you figure that it's going to fixture itself in history, or what's going on now with it?
Well, it's kind of a constant struggle. There's some guy in Florida that because of his artwork, they've forbidden him to draw a period. He can't even draw for himself. I mean, some kind of medieval. I can't think of the guy's name now, and I should have remembered the name. But they found his work so shocking that they just have put him in some kind of set of restrictions from the Middle Ages, among which he's just forbidden to draw.
Is this recent?
This is recent, yeah. This is going on right now.
He's forbidden to draw.
He's forbidden to draw. He can't draw for himself. He can't, not to mention he can't publish anything or have anything published.
So he can't draw a pension? No, I'm just kidding. Anyway,
he can't draw flies.
Or a crowd. That seems really that's shocking, actually. But it's in Florida, so I guess one would assume.
Yeah.
See, your Subvert and Trashman seem to follow you through your career. I mean, when you during this gala event that's happening on the 3rd, you'll be displaying some of the original art. Will Trashman be present?
Oh yeah. I have some pages of Trashman, and I like to do some more Trashman. But a big bitch, or can I say that?
Doesn't matter. It's a midnight to 3 show.
Is the character I've been doing the most in recent years, and I have an anthology called She Comics, and that has certain political overtones or undertones, whatever. It's kind of more of of comic strips for the for the Reagan era, which we still seem to be in.
Yes, can't seem to shed it. What else is going to be available of your work at the show? I mean, they mentioned in the press release from Luz de Jesus Gallery at 7400 Melrose, I must add here. Are you going to be selling works? Or?
Yeah, I have a bunch of pages. I have some illustrations I've done, including a portrait of Catherine McKinnon, kind of the women's movement's answer to the church lady. So I have an unflattering portrait that I did for the East Bay Express. They told me no other artist wanted to touch it. No other artist wanted to do an unflattering picture of her. It was an illustration for an article by Susie Bright, which kind of gave her the backhand that she so richly deserves.
So on June 3rd, when everybody gets together, when was the last time that an event like this happened?
The last time was in New York in '89, where we had an exhibit at the Psychedelic Solution.
And was that for ZAP number 12?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how was the turnout for that?
That was amazing. Really amazed me. People were lined up down to the end of the block, and it was a long block.
Oh, great. Right. Well, it should be interesting to see what the turnout's going to be down here.
Yeah.
I spoke with the people at the gallery, and they said that they've run a couple of ads in the LA Weekly, and that usually draws a pretty good crowd. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of crowd comes out for this.
Yeah, I'm always surprised. I just kind of do this stuff because I just have to. It always surprises me how many people are out there who actually read underground comics.
Yes. Do you see a younger crowd or an older crowd?
You see the whole range. You see, people who are like myself who just kind of never got over comics. And you see younger people of all different age groups. So.
Oh, that'd be good. I'm really looking forward to it. Do you have anything else to add that you would like to add about the show?
It'll be good to get down to LA. I always have a good time.
Oh, great. So how long are you going to be down here? Friday night is the opening, which is 8 to 11:30.
Yeah.
And everybody's just going to stand around and view the work and speak to the artists?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then Saturday, the next day, is a signing.
Right.
Which is from 3 to 6, I believe. Okay, and that's Saturday, June 4th at La Luz de Jesus Gallery at 7400 Melrose upstairs in Los Angeles, California. All right, great. I'm hoping that I'd be able to bring a camera, come up and get a couple of shots of you if I could.
Sure.
Okay, that'd be great. I've been speaking with Spain Rodriguez, one of the originators of Zap Comics and Trash Man, agent of the 6th International. And I thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, and that was it. I hope you enjoyed it. This is Fred with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, California, just finishing up an interview with Spain Rodriguez.